Now let's take a look at what the survey says. This is the survey said on Money Life. It's where we look at surveys, studies, polls, and more. And we also look at research. And it's not just surveys. Sometimes we're looking at studies. And it's anything that can help you understand what people are doing with money, thinking about money, feeling about money, how they're acting with money, and more. And today, we are looking at research that is looking at how communications, but also how trust between financial planners and their clients has been changing. So Money Life, the show, has been here for 10 years, but I have been covering personal finance for a lot longer, and there were previous iterations of the show. And about 15 years ago, there was a study that took a look at what was happening with the relationships between individuals and their financial advisors and how much there was, do we need to go virtual and more? Well, the researchers went back and looked at it again, and there has been major change. And again, it's in communications, but also trust. The work was supported by the Financial Planning Association. Here to discuss it, Carol Anderson. She is president of MQ Research and Education. They are the research organization behind it. If you want to learn more, well, MQRE.org is about the research group, MQ Research. MoneyQuotient.com has a lot of good information that you can check out that will help you also understand what's going on here. And find Carol on the Money Life Show recent and upcoming guest page. There's a long link there that will get you to the Financial Planning Association site for more details on the study. Carol Anderson, thanks for joining me on Money Life.
Well, thank you for having me.
Guests on Money Life appear here via the Gainbridge hotline. Gainbridge delivers deferred annuities that may help balance a robust retirement portfolio. With as little as $1,000, you can start earning guaranteed returns on your investment. Gain financial peace of mind online at Gainbridge.life. Carol, like I said, I remember the original research because it was like, are people going to be able to get to where they can trust an advisor that they have to work with virtually? But now, of course, with COVID, well, everything's gone to virtual. How much has it helped people understand how much has that become the staple of the relationship, but also virtual when we're not doing everything face-to-face, when we're using robo-advice and other things? What has that done for the trust level between clients and their advisors?
Well, I think it isn't as dependent on some of the other factors as it is sort of the foundation of the relationship of the advisor and the client to begin with. And so the original study, which was done in 2006, was actually, the focus was taking a look at what was called life planning at that time, and it was still a rather controversial approach to comprehensive financial planning, but it really focused on getting to know and understand the client, helping them to get clarity around their values and priorities and goals, and then to create a financial plan that really took all of that into consideration, and then the client could see kind of a direct connection between their portfolio and actually all aspects of their financial life and how it was directed towards what was really important to them. Back then, this concept was rather controversial, and so there was an interest in having some scientific validation for this approach to working with clients. So we were very eager to replicate that study after 15 years, and there were so many economic stressors and things that had occurred in that 15 years to see if the results still held. And one of the new areas that we examined was the prevalence of virtual interactions and how the pandemic had sort of forced that. And so, how it would affect the client relationship and the degree of trust and commitment they had. So what we found was that actually the results from 2006 really held, so it shows real consistency of the opinions of clients around this more holistic approach to working with them, and that also the virtual interactions really had very little influence in deterring trust and commitment in their financial planners and clients, of those who actually had this more holistic approach of really getting to know and understand their clients.
It's interesting to me because having written a book on choosing and working with financial advisors, actually 2 books on that subject, it is always a case of, how do you make relationships work? Because you want your financial advisor to give you the emotional discipline to have a plan and stick with it. And it was interesting to me, one of the things is that there are some places where the relationship between advisors and clients is a little tricky. There's the side that says planners think they do a great job. It's kind of like Lake Wobegon, where all the children are above average. But clients are more critical of advisors than ever. And this is during a time when the market, by the way, has done really well for people. So how do you solve that disconnect if you're trying to have a good relationship with an advisor?
Yeah, I do think it's time for planners to re-examine how they are communicating this approach to their clients. They're feeling very confident that they have a more holistic, client-centered approach to working with their clients, but their clients aren't perceiving that as well. So there was definitely more of a difference between how the planners viewed what they were doing and what the clients viewed what they were doing. So, but when we did correlations, the statistical correlations still were showing that there was a very strong correlation between this approach and higher levels of trust and commitment. So they really need to re-examine how they are communicating it. One of the things that really does help is if they have an actual established process for examining the client's values and priorities, concerns, and so forth, looking at some of these more qualitative aspects and drawing that information out of their clients, and then using that information to create a goal-setting process where the clients can really see the direct connection to what's going on in their life, what's important to them, and how the financial plan supports that.
Yeah, it is super important that folks wind up finding the right things out of the relationship. The good news is that it's there, but also in this study, they did highlight some of those areas where there's friction. And if you want to have a good relationship with an advisor, if you want to find an advisor, the Financial Planning Association can help. It's online at financialplanningassociation.org. This study, they were behind it along with, among others, MQ Research and Education and the Kansas State University Personal Finance Planning Program and more. Carol Anderson, my guest, is president of MQ Research and Education, online at mqre.org and moneyquotient.com. Carol, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
There's much more to go on today's edition of Money Life, so settle back and relax. We'll take a quick break and jump right back into it in just a moment.